Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Monday, January the 30th. We got an 8-game Monday slate, so a decent sized slate for Monday, guys. Going to go game by game, give you a quick breakdown of this 8-game slate, what I do like, taking a first look on Sunday night. But as always, before we do get started, with the breakdown, if you guys do enjoy the DFS videos, and if these videos do help you out, please hit that like button down below. Always appreciate the likes. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, and if you've never checked out PrizePicks before, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks. Use my promo code Noah. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code, or just click the link in the description. But for those of you that have never heard about PrizePicks, they're a player prop site. So as you can see, they're a site focused on projections, player props. So you're taking like more or less on a player's projection, and they do have some projections already posted for Monday's games. Obviously, this is not the full board. Take a look at the board again sometime on Monday afternoon. You'll see a ton of props from every game, from just about every starter. They have a ton of categories as well: points, rebounds, assists. Points, rebounds, assists added together, 3-pointers made. They have a ton of other stuff too. They'll add fantasy score props as well. So if you guys are not playing on PrizePicks yet, and if you want to sign up for PrizePicks, make sure that when you sign up, use that promo code Noah. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. But I hope you guys had a good weekend. Excited to talk some NBA for Monday, and let's get to it. So we got an 8-game slate. We'll start off with the first game of the night, Orlando and Philly. We'll start off on the Orlando side. So Orlando, they've kind of been a team I've just really been avoiding. Like, I feel like I haven't played any Magic lately. I usually just play one lineup a night, and I don't think I've played a Magic player in my one lineup in 2 weeks. I mean, it's not a team I really have a ton of interest in right now. They run a pretty deep rotation. They're always a threat to get blown out as well. Philly's playing at home here. If they have Joel Embiid, I think this could definitely be a game that Philly blows out Orlando. So I really don't want to roster many Magic here. Markelle Fultz going back to Philly, revenge game. I don't even know if that really matters, but if you want to play that narrative, go ahead. But I'm not really interested in Markelle Fultz. Not interested in Banchero or Franz Wagner. Really tough spot for Wendell Carter Jr. And the bench guys I'm not going to play. I just really don't like anything on Orlando today. Now on the other side with Philly, Joel Embiid is listed as questionable for this game. I think Embiid has been questionable for the last 3 games, and he's played all the games. So I think Embiid's going to play. I would expect him to play. And if he is playing, I mean, the matchup against Orlando, I think is definitely fine. I think this is a spot where Embiid could put up a big game. He obviously had that huge game against Jokic, put up 87 DraftKings points. When Philly's fully healthy, when Embiid's healthy, Harden's healthy, Maxey, Harris are all healthy. I mean, Embiid's never a priority for me where he's priced at, but I still think he's in play. I think Harden's fine too. I'm really not interested in any other Philly guys though. Maxey, Harris, assuming Embiid is in, I'm not interested in those guys now. By some chance, if Embiid doesn't play, then Harden looks great at 9,800. Maxey would look really good. Tobias Harris would look really good. I'd have some interest in DeAnthony Melton. And then value-wise, if Montrezl Harrell were to start at center for Embiid, Montrezl Harrell could be someone worth considering for value at 4,500. But all that's going to be dependent on Embiid's status. And like I said, I think Embiid is probably going to play. So that'll do it for that game. Not a ton to love, honestly. Let's move on to the next game, the Lakers and the Nets. So for the Lakers today, they're going to be missing some key guys. No LeBron, no Anthony Davis. This is the front end of a back-to-back. The Lakers play again on Tuesday, so they're going to go ahead and sit LeBron and AD for this game. So without AD and LeBron, I mean, we can expect a really big role for Russell Westbrook. He's probably going to come off the bench still, but usage should be really, really good. We know Westbrook offers triple-double upside. We know he can stuff the stat sheet when he's on the floor. Price tag at $7,500 is not too expensive here, for life without AD and LeBron. So at $7,500, I definitely like Westbrook on the slate. I think he looks really strong. I think he's a really good option. I like Dennis Schroeder quite a bit. We've seen Dennis Schroeder be really good in the games without LeBron, without AD. He should be kind of the number 2 guy on offense, and he should play huge minutes here. So at $5,400, I have a lot of interest in Dennis Schroeder. And then Thomas Bryant, I think, looks pretty solid at $5K. Thomas Bryant's minutes have kind of been all over the place lately. There's been some games where he's played big minutes, some games he hasn't. Obviously, the last few games have been with Anthony Davis, so we can't look too much into those games. But prior to Anthony Davis's return, we saw Bryant play 33 minutes against Portland. We saw him play 29 minutes against the Clippers. I don't think Wenyen Gabriel's really been playing much at all lately. They have Rui Hachimura now they could give minutes to if they wanted to. They could play him at the 5. But Wenyen Gabriel's really not even played much. He didn't play last game against Boston. He only played 1 minute against San Antonio. So I think Thomas Bryant is going to be locked in for decent minutes here. And at $5K, I think Thomas Bryant looks really solid. Lonnie Walker made his return from injury last game. He came off the bench, only played 18 minutes. I would think he probably plays more than that today, and obviously they need his scoring without LeBron and without AD. I want to keep an eye on the starting lineup. If he doesn't start, then there's a good chance he's going to be limited again. But if they move Lonnie Walker into the starting lineup and there's reports that he's not limited, I think at 4,200 he's going to be a pretty good value. And then Rui Hachimura, I mean, the 2 games he's played with the Lakers, he's not been like super productive. 22 minutes against San Antonio, 23 DK points. 24 minutes last game against Boston, 12 DK points. Obviously, both those games were with Anthony Davis and with LeBron. Without Anthony Davis, without LeBron, it's totally different here. So I think we can expect Rui to be pretty productive on a permanent basis. He might start. Honestly, they could start him if they wanted to go that route. So I think Rui Hachimura at 4,100 is going to be a pretty good value as well. And that's probably it for the Lakers. Patrick Beverley, I'll pass on. Gabriel, I'll pass on. Troy Brown, I'll pass on. But definitely, Westbrook, Schroeder, Bryant, Lonnie Walker, if he's not limited, and then Hachimura. I have interest in all 5 of those guys. That could be the starting lineup. We'll have to pay attention to the starting lineup, but those could be the 5 starters. I think, or not Westbrook, he's not going to start, but we could see Rui start. We could see Lonnie Walker start. Those would be guys I'd like to target for value. Now on the Brooklyn side, Brooklyn is still without Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons is questionable for this game. Kyrie's been great lately without KD. He kind of got off to a slow start the first few games he played without Kevin Durant, but lately, last 5 or 6 games, super productive, playing huge minutes as well. Matchup against the Lakers, I think, is totally fine. Lakers play fast. They're not the best defensive team. Patrick Beverley's probably going to be harassing Kyrie, but I think at this point, Kyrie is a matchup-proof player, and I don't really get worried about Patrick Beverley's defense that much, so I think it's a pretty good spot for Kyrie. I definitely have interest in Kyrie, even with his price tag coming up. Nick Claxton been playing just awesome lately. His price tag is way up there at 8,100, but I mean, he has shown like 45, 50-point upside, and he's playing massive minutes as well. The Lakers without Anthony Davis are definitely a team you can attack down low against bigs. They're definitely vulnerable, giving up big games to centers when they don't have AD. So I think it's a pretty good spot for Claxton. I do have some interest in Claxton, even at the price tag he's at. I think he's still viable. The rest of Brooklyn, though, Ben Simmons, if he plays at 7K, I'll probably pass on. Royce O'Neal, I'll pass on. Seth Curry, maybe if Ben Simmons is out, we could maybe go to Seth Curry for value. Seth Curry did sit out their last game, I believe. It was like a back-to-back or something, but he should be back tonight, play around 30 minutes. Maybe he plays more if Ben Simmons is out. Don't mind him as a value at 5,300, but obviously I'd feel a little bit better about him if Simmons were to get ruled out. But that'll do it for Brooklyn. I think that'll do it for this game. So let's move on to the next one, Golden State and OKC. So start off on the Golden State side, you got Steph Curry coming in at 10,500. Steph this season been a slightly better permanent producer, been contributing more with peripheral stats, rebounds, and assists. Had a really big game last game against Toronto. Matchup here against OKC, I think is pretty solid. OKC will not have Lou Dort for this game, so I think not having Lou Dort out there definitely is a boost for Curry. I think regardless, it's Curry's a guy that can win in any matchup, but not having Dort harassing him is definitely a plus for Steph Curry. I think Steph's a pretty good pay-up option here. I do have some interest in him on this slate. The rest of Golden State, though, like Clay, Jordan Poole, I don't have a ton of interest in those guys. Draymond is 6,300. I don't mind. Last game, they did start Kevon Looney at center, which I think hurt Draymond a little bit, but I assume with Andrew Wiggins back this game, we'll see them go back to starting Draymond at center. So I think now that Draymond should be back starting at center, I think that does boost his permanent production overall. His rebounding numbers should be good starting at center. And it's a really good matchup against OKC. We've seen OKC be vulnerable against bigs this year. Bad rebounding team. They give up points in the paint. So I think Draymond's in a pretty decent spot. He's probably my second favorite play on Golden State behind Steph Curry. And then Andrew Wiggins at 6K, coming back from injury. I'll probably pass on Wiggins. Probably going to pass on the rest of Golden State. And then on the other side with OKC, SGA coming in at 9,900. Don't mind SGA on this slate. Golden State's a pretty good defensive team, but their defense for some reason has been much worse on the road this year than at home. Don't love the spot for SGA, but this should be a relatively fast-paced, high-scoring game, so I guess that's a plus for him. Golden State, though, they do have some strong defenders. They do defend the paint pretty well. Don't know if it's the best matchup overall for SGA, but he's a matchup-proof player. He's fine on this slate. Not a priority for me, though. Josh Giddey at 7,700 feels priced about right. His permanent production come down a little bit lately. He had a stretch of like 4 or 5 games where he was just crushing 51, 52, 55. He's kind of come back down to earth lately. Hasn't had more than 38 DK points in 4 straight games. We know Giddey can stuff the stat sheet when he's on the floor. He can rebound, he can score, he can get assists. Feel like he's due for a big game at some point. Just on this slate where he's priced at, I'm not in love with Giddey. Jalen Williams, probably going to pass on. The rest of OKC, I really don't have a ton of interest in these guys. So I think that'll pretty much do it for the Thunder. Really the guy that stands out most from OKC is going to be SGA. But moving on to the next game, Sacramento and Minnesota. So on the Sacramento side, you got Domantas Sabonis coming in at 10,300. Don't love the spot for Sabonis going up against Minnesota, going up against Rudy Gobert. Sabonis' per minute production has also kind of tailed off a little bit. Some of that might be due to tougher matchups, going up against Minnesota and Memphis and Philly. Like, these are not the best spots. But where Sabonis is priced at, like, I think I'd rather go to Steph, to SGA. If I could get up to Embiid, I think I'd rather go there. Like, I don't consider Sabonis a top pay-up option here. Maybe by some chance if Rudy Gobert gets ruled out, then I think the matchup would definitely get a lot better for Sabonis, but I'm assuming that Gobert's going to play. He's played like the last 3 or 4 games. De'Aaron Fox at 8,300, I don't mind in this spot. He's probably going to see a lot of Jaden McDaniels, who's a really good defender, but this game should be played at a really fast pace. Both these teams do play fast. This should be a high-scoring game. I think that sets up well for Fox. So of all the Sacramento guys today, he's probably my favorite at 8,300. But like Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, I think I'll pass on these guys. Minnesota, like they're kind of vulnerable giving up threes. So like Huerter, maybe you could go to. He's going to play 35, 36 minutes most likely. Feels priced about right though. Same could be said for Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray's just a guy that has like shown little upside this season. He had that huge game against OKC where he put up 51 DK points, but other than that, he's just been like 24, 25 DK points a night. Like, he's just not a guy that ever flashes a big ceiling. So I think that's it for Sacramento. Now on the other side with Minnesota. So like I said, Rudy Gobert's questionable, but Gobert has been questionable like the last 3 games, and he's played all those games. So I'm expecting Gobert to play today. We'll start off at the top with Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards is coming in at 9,400. Not too bad of a price tag for Edwards. We've seen him, show the upside to pay off this price tag. He just had a monster game against Sacramento when these two teams played on Saturday. Put up 62 DK points. Look, I think the pace of this game is going to be really good. I think that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. So I think that sets up well for Edwards. I think the price tag feels about right, but at 9,400, he's definitely got the upside to pay off this price tag. Obviously, we saw him, have a huge game last game. D'Angelo Russell, his role's been a lot better lately. Minutes have been more secure for him. His per-minute production's been great. Price tag is still pretty reasonable at 7K. So with how well he's played lately, I hate to chase the game logs, but obviously Russell is kind of finding his groove right now. Minutes are more secure. Usage has been a lot better. I don't mind Russell at 7K. Really like Rudy Gobert. I mean, Gobert's 6,600. This is just too cheap of a price tag for Gobert. When he's playing his full minutes, 35, 36 minutes, especially without Karl-Anthony Towns, he's a good per-minute producer with Towns off the floor. And it seems like, he's healthy right now, even though they keep listing him as questionable. I mean, he's going out there and playing 35, 36 minutes. So I would expect big minutes from Gobert. I think the matchup is decent against Sabonis. Sabonis is not a guy I worry about too much on the defensive end. The price tag is what really makes Gobert look solid. 6,600, like I said, that's just too cheap for Gobert. So I do like Gobert quite a bit today. But I'm probably going to pass on the rest of Minnesota. Kyle Anderson at 5,700 feels priced about right. He's flashed some upside this season, but with Gobert healthy, with Ant healthy, with Russell healthy, it's hard to really predict when you're going to get that big Kyle Anderson game. And then Jaden McDaniels, not a guy I'm super interested in today. So let's move on to the next game, Washington and San Antonio. So we'll start off on the Washington side. They will be getting back Kristaps Porzingis today. Porzingis not on the injury report. Really good matchup here for Porzingis, but I do worry about it being his first game back from injury. He hasn't played in over a week, so I think we could see some limitations on Porzingis at 9,100. I'm not super interested in him, especially with Kuzma healthy, with Beal healthy. Although the matchup's really good, I'll probably pass on Porzingis here. I'm going to pass on Kuzma as well with Porzingis back. Bradley Beal feels cheap at 7,200, and it's a good matchup for him. But I don't know what's going on with Bradley Beal right now. He's not been that productive. His per-minute production, even when Porzingis was out, was really bad. Minutes are starting to get back to normal. He did play 33 minutes last game, but man, now that Porzingis is back, just because this is how NBA goes. Beal's been so bad with Porzingis out lately. Porzingis will come back, and then Beal will have a massive game, just because that's usually how it goes. But I think I'm going to pass on Beal today, even at 7,200 and even in a good matchup. And the rest of Washington, I'm going to be avoiding here. I really don't like much on this team, even though it's a really good matchup. Now on the San Antonio side, Keldon Johnson, he's going to be kind of the number one guy on offense. With Devin Vassell out, he's been playing decently well lately. The only thing you have to worry about is that this San Antonio team, they're pretty bad. They're going to get blown out a lot, but in competitive games, Keldon Johnson will play big minutes, and we saw him play 41 minutes last game against Phoenix. I think that game did go to overtime, but he still played 36 minutes in regulation. So if you think this game does stay competitive, I don't mind targeting Keldon Johnson at 7,300. Trey Jones at 5,900. I mean, minutes just have not been like super high for him. Even in competitive games, he's only playing like 28 minutes right now. So I'm not really that interested in Trey Jones. Jakob Poeltl is kind of the same thing. Poeltl's a really good per minute producer, but in competitive games lately, he's just been playing like 28, 26, 26, 28 minutes. Now, he did get up to 33 minutes last game, but again, that was a blowout. So, excuse me, not a blowout. That was a game that went to overtime. So, in regulation, he played 28 minutes. Can Poeltl go out there and put up, 40 DraftKings points in 28 minutes? He absolutely can. I don't mind Poeltl at 5,800. The price tag is pretty cheap. It's just I wish he was playing more minutes right now, and it seems like San Antonio literally doesn't care to win games. They're going to play 10, 11 guys every night. It's a tough team to really want to get too much into. But I think Keldon's fine. I think Poeltl's fine. I'll probably pass on the rest of the Spurs though. So let's move on to the next game, Detroit and Dallas. So on the Detroit side, I mean, not a ton to love on Detroit here. Bojan, 6,600. Don't love the spot against Dallas. I'll probably pass on Bojan. I'm just going to pass on Detroit as a whole. Like, I really don't like much on this team. They're another team that's going to run like a 10, 11-man rotation. I think the one guy that I do have some interest in is Alec Burks. Alec Burks has been starting lately. He has started the last 2 games, and he's played pretty well. 35 DraftKings points against Brooklyn, 29 DK points against Houston. He's played 30 and 27 minutes in the 2 games he started. Assuming they continue to stick with Burks in the starting lineup, I actually do like him for value. He would be the one guy that I would have a good amount of interest in from Detroit. Don't mind Jalen Duren. We've seen Dallas give up some big games to centers lately. I know DeAndre Ayton had a really big game against them. Duren's minutes should be solid here. Last game he was in foul trouble, so he only played 24 minutes, but he should play like 30 minutes if this game is competitive. He's even played like even in blowouts. We've seen them play Duren even in blowouts, so like I think Duren's minutes are pretty safe. I don't mind him at 5,500, but definitely favorite play from Detroit is going to be Alec Burks, assuming he continues to start. That'll probably do it, though, for this Pistons team. I really don't want to be rostering many Pistons on an 8-game slate. And then on the other side with Dallas, so the big news from Dallas here is Luka, who's questionable. Luka, I think, has been out the last 1 or 2 games. Did not play in their most recent game. We'll have to see if he plays here. If Luka plays, it's a fantastic spot against Detroit. Like, Detroit is one of the worst defensive teams in the league, so this is a spot where Luka should just absolutely crush. He put up 65 DK points last time he faced Detroit in 41 minutes. Obviously, there's some blowout risk here, but, at this point, I don't think Dallas can blow out anyone without Luka putting up like a massive game. So if Dallas does blow out Detroit here, it's probably because Luka is just going off. So I think Luka's in a really good spot, assuming he plays. Now, if Luka doesn't play, then Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr. are going to be 2 guys that really benefit. Dinwiddie had a really big game last game without Luka. Last 2 games, actually, without Luka have been really good for Dinwiddie. 40 minutes against Phoenix, 42 minutes against Utah, 59 and 57 DK points. His price tag is way up there, 8,500, but man, this matchup is so good. Like, I would not be surprised to see another 50-plus point game from Dinwiddie, assuming that Luka is out. Now, obviously, if Luka plays, Dinwiddie is like the worst play on the slate, but if Luka's out, I think Dinwiddie looks pretty good, or somewhat good at 8,500. I wouldn't say pretty good, but somewhat good at 8,500. Tim Hardaway Jr. at 6K, I don't mind. He should have a bigger role without Luka. His per-minute production lately has not been great, but he'll be like the number 2 guy on offense, and obviously, matchup against Detroit is very, very good, so don't even mind going to Tim Hardaway. The rest of Dallas, though, like Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't know if his role changes too much even if Luka's out. He's been playing big minutes lately, and he has been more productive. Dorian Finney-Smith is not a guy that I really ever love to play in DFS because he's a very low-usage player. He's a guy that's going to have to get there on defensive stats and rebounds. Like, he's not going to score a ton. He's not going to take a ton of shots, but clearly the last 2 games without Luka, Dorian Finney-Smith has benefited. He's put up 42 and 34 DK points. Assuming that Luka is out, I think Dorian Finney-Smith is viable. I wouldn't be like slamming him into my lineups, but I think he is a viable cheap option at 4,600. I think Dwight Powell at 4,100 would be fine as well. I think his minutes would be a little bit more secure without Luka, just because they kind of need a big body out there. They like to go small with Luka. They can play like small ball lineups with Luka, but I think they're a little bit less likely to do that without him. Don't mind going to Powell at 4,100. And then Josh Green has been starting in place of Luka. He's been playing big minutes, but he's not really the best per-minute producer. He's a very low-usage player. He's still really cheap, though, and right now there's like not a ton of great value on the slate besides like the Lakers guys. So I think Josh Green at 3,800 will be a viable cheap option today if Luka is out. Yeah, there's a lot to keep an eye on here. Obviously, the Luka news is some of the biggest news to keep an eye on this slate. Hopefully, we will get that news sometime before lock. This is an 8:30 game, so I don't know if we will, but hopefully we will. Let's talk about the last 2 games of the night, though, 2 late-night games. So Toronto and Phoenix. We'll start off on the Toronto side. So right now for Toronto, they don't have OG Anunoby, but they still have all their other guys. This Toronto team, they're going to run a really tight rotation. They're going to play their starters big minutes. We can expect 30 plus, probably if not like 35 plus minutes from Siakam, Van Vliet, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, and probably Presta Achiuwa as well. Siakam's 9,600. His permanent production has not been great lately. He's not had any good games the last two, but did have that really big game against Sacramento where he put up 60 DK points. Matchup here against Phoenix, I think is okay, but I don't love Siakam on the slate. Fred Van Vliet at 8K feels priced about right. He's been playing a lot better lately, and I know he's gotten a big boost with OG off the floor this season. He's been playing a ton of minutes as well. I don't mind Van Vliet at 8K. I probably would rather take him over Siakam given the savings. And then Scotty Barnes, his role has been pretty solid lately. He's been playing massive minutes. His permanent production has been pretty good as well. I mean, really, all these Toronto guys are somewhat viable just because if this is a competitive game, you're getting 36-plus minutes from Siakam, Van Vliet, Scotty Barnes. Like, they're going to play so much that they have a path to upside. Gary Trent, probably my least favorite of all the Raptors. And I do want to talk about Presta Achiuwa. So Achiuwa, the last two games without OG, has played really good minutes. 36 minutes against Golden State after OG got injured. And then last game against Portland with OG out, Achiuwa did start, played 33 minutes. Achiuwa, it sucks that he's center only. You can only roster him at center, but he's still pretty cheap, and we don't have a ton of value on the slate that I love. So I think Achiuwa as a value option looks pretty solid at 5,100. He should play big minutes here. It seems like he's a guy they trust given minutes to right now. They don't have a ton of confidence in the rest of their bench guys. I mean, you look at the bench guys besides the starters. I mean, Chris Boucher, you look at his minutes, 19, 17. You look at Thaddeus Young, barely playing right now, 9, 10 minutes. Juancho Hernan-Gomez, his minutes, 11, 12. Like, these guys are just not getting a ton of run. This is the starters getting all the minutes. So all the starters from Toronto I think are somewhat viable, but definitely my favorite Toronto plays for sure. Number one is Achiuwa, and then probably second would be Van Vliet, then Scotty Barnes, then Siakam, and then Gary Trent, I think, if I had to rank the starters. Now on the Phoenix side, still no Devin Booker for Phoenix, so without Devin Booker, we can expect Chris Paul to be kind of the number one guy on offense to really run the show. He's been pretty good lately without Devin Booker. Really, since he's returned from his injury, Paul's been super productive, had 54 DK points against Memphis. Even in a blowout against Charlotte, he put up nearly 40 DK points, had 49 against Dallas, and then last game against San Antonio put up 63. Now, this matchup against Toronto, I don't love for Chris Paul, but he's just going to have a really big role. He's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. We know Chris Paul can produce when he's on the floor. His assist numbers are going to be great. He's been taking on a more score, been a bigger scorer as of late, and I would only expect that to continue while Booker is out. So I do like Chris Paul quite a bit. DeAndre Ayton at 7,800 is playable, but I'm not as interested in him. Mikal Bridges, I'm not super interested in at his price tag. And then value from Phoenix, Cam Johnson at 5,700, I'll pass on. Torrey Craig, I'll pass on. It's really Chris Paul, I think, is the guy that stands out most from Phoenix. He's definitely my favorite play on the Suns today. But let's go ahead and talk about the last game of the night, Atlanta and Portland. We'll start off on the Atlanta side. So big news to keep an eye on for Atlanta today is Trae Young, who is listed as questionable. I assume Trae Young will play, but this will be something to monitor. Obviously, if Trae Young does not play, DeJounte Murray would be in a great spot. 7,900 would be way too cheap for Murray. Murray would be one of the best plays on the slate if Trae Young got ruled out. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic would take a bigger role off the bench. At 5,100, I would have some interest in Bogdan if Trae got ruled out. Don't know if it really affects Capella, Collins, Hunter. I don't know if those guys get too big of a boost, but I think they get a slight boost if Trae sits. But clearly, the biggest beneficiary would be DeJounte Murray. Now, if Trae plays, looking at this Atlanta team with Trae in, I don't love a ton on Atlanta. I think Trae at 9,700 always has upside, but we haven't really seen a big ceiling from Trae in a while. And I've been saying that, it feels like, for weeks now. The last time Trae put up over 60 DK points was the beginning of January. He hasn't really had more than 60 DK points almost all month since that game against Golden State. We know Trae can put up 60 any night, but I think there's other guys I'd rather pay up for today. I don't mind DeJounte at 7,900. This price tag does feel kind of low for DeJounte. Plus, if Trae Young were to get ruled out, let's say the Trae Young news doesn't come until way after lock. Let's say by some chance you just play DeJounte hoping that Trae gets ruled out, and Trae does get ruled out. Obviously, DeJounte is going to be a great play. If you play DeJounte hoping Trae gets ruled out and Trae plays, well, you're not screwed. I mean, DeJounte could still put up a good game even if Trae does play. So between the two Atlanta guards, I do prefer DeJounte here, given the savings. I think at 7,900, he looks a little bit more appealing. Plus, point guard and shooting guard eligible. Clint Capella at 6K, going to get 28, 30 minutes. Matchup against Nurkic is one that I think is actually kind of decent. I know Portland's given up some big games to centers lately. Nurkic is questionable, so that'll be something to monitor. If he doesn't play, I think the matchup gets even better against Drew Eubanks. So Don't mind the spot for Capella. I think he's viable. John Collins, I'll probably pass on. Hunter, I'll probably pass on. And then Bogdan, if Trey is out, I do have some interest in Bogdan. But that'll do it for Atlanta. Now on the other side with Portland, so Damian Lillard is 10,700. Lillard been playing out of his mind lately, just putting up huge game after huge game. Had a little bit of a disappointing game against Toronto, but that was a really tough matchup. We saw him go nuts against Utah in a blowout against San Antonio, put up a big game. I think this matchup against Atlanta is like okay. He's probably going to see a lot of DeJounte, who is a good defender, but Dame is playing at such an elite level right now that he's someone that I don't really ever mind paying up for. I wouldn't consider him my favorite pay-up option, but I think he is viable. The rest of Portland, though, like Nurkic, if he plays, I mean, I don't know with Nurkic right now. Like, his minutes have just kind of been all over the place. Against Utah, that was the game he got injured in, so I don't want to look too much into that one. He played really well against San Antonio, but then against the Lakers, like, he was in foul trouble. I mean, he's been in foul trouble in a lot of games lately. We know that Nurkic is a guy that, when he does get full minutes, he can absolutely crush. It's just, he's been in foul trouble a lot lately. The minutes have been a little bit tougher to predict. Plus, this would be, like, his first game back from injury. I'll probably pass on Nurkic here, even if he does play. Jeremy Grant and Simons, I'll probably pass on as well, where they're priced at. Don't love either one. I do want to mention that Josh Hart is questionable. And last game without Josh Hart, we did see Nasir Little start. Nasir Little played 30 minutes, but he wasn't very productive, only had 17 DK points. He's still really cheap, so I wouldn't mind Nasir Little for value if Hart were to get ruled out. And then last game without Nurkic, we did see Drew Eubanks start at center. Drew Eubanks also was not that productive, only had 17 DK points, played 22 minutes. 3,600 though is pretty cheap for Eubanks, and we've seen Eubanks be relatively productive when he does get minutes. So I would have some interest in Eubanks if Nurkic got ruled out. Those would be two value plays we could consider from Portland. Obviously, news dependent, but that'll do it for that game, and that'll do it for this 8-game Monday night slate. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Hope you guys, hopefully you guys had a good weekend. Hopefully we can make some money on this Monday slate. But if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, sign up for PrizePicks. If you're not signed up for PrizePicks yet, you can sign up and use my promo code NOAH. PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. Definitely check them out if you guys have not yet. Looks like they already got props up for the Super Bowl. So PrizePicks getting up some props early, 2 weeks in advance of the Super Bowl. They already have some lines posted. You could take a look at those if you're interested. Take a look at, obviously their NBA props as well. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good Monday. Make some money tonight. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Best of luck tonight. Peace.